All right, bang. Today is Monday. It is January 23rd. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Snake Draft Monday presented by Miller Lite. And boy, do we have quite the snake draft for you. Only two members of the original panel right now. It's myself, Eddie, and Chief White Sox Davies in the Dominican Republic with Donnie. And we're joined on Zoom by three fellas who maybe at one point had a little squabble in the past, right? Just to put it lightly.
Just water under the bridge, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're joined on Zoom. We have Captain Cons, we have Jeff Nadu, and we have Rico Bosco. Some would say this is like in the USA, China, Russia, in the Middle East, all in a room. Some would say this is going to be a peace brokering. This is like the Geneva Convention. Some would say it's going to be a Royal Rumble.
Would any of you guys say that? Would any of you guys say that this is a peace brokering, that Eddie is like head of the UN? Because that's how he's trying to position himself.
It's a new year.
Eddie's like Rodman when they sent him to Kim Jong-il.
Yeah.
He's the only guy. Or Carmine Lupatazzi is the only guy to broker this. Everybody knows Eddie's not Eddie's not hiding anything. So everybody came safe. Like the garage when they're all there freezing in the garage and they finally call everything off. That's what this is. So we'll definitely call everything off. Congrats by the way, Cons.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
That's
that.
nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'll give the first name since today is January 23rd. I'll give the first name suggestion.
Okay.
Tiffany or Kelly because it's Tiffany Amethysen's birthday.
Happy birthday to her.
Hey, Cons
a
likes
queen in her own right.
It would be quite interesting, Cons, if you have a son. Is it a son or daughter?
No, it's a girl. I
Okay.
announced it's a girl.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, if it was a son, if you called it Rico, that would be.
Yeah. Or Terrence. That's a good Irish name.
Or James, the guy's real name.
Yeah.
James Villani. Yes, correct. You said Jeff. Obviously, New Year. Cons, anything to say? Anything to open us off with?
Listen, I've said my piece at this point, and I'm happy to move forward. And I'm very much looking forward to having this conversation and doing this draft today. I think it's a great topic, and I think we're all going to have a lot of fun. And I think once people have put their weapons down, so to speak, I think folks see that there's a lot of crossover and similarities between others. So I'm looking forward to, and I think we're all going to have some interesting picks. We'll just say that. Yeah.
My only hesitation, I still haven't seen you in person. I'm, as you can see, I'm in the rubber room still. It'll be a while before I come back. But I didn't want the first piece to do the draft. I didn't want you to think I was avoiding the conversation. So.
I know you're not. I'll just put this out there. Rico and I have talked offline about some things, and I don't need to say any more than that. We're good though. So
wow, 2023.
We're good.
2023. You love.
We actually did it in 2022. Him and I. It was right before Christmas. We wanted to get it out of the way. We spoke. That was that. He does his thing. I do mine. And I wish him seriously the best. I'm sure. I know he's a talent. We all know that. So he's got to get his head right, and he'll be good. So.
Beautiful.
I'm looking forward to doing this. It'll be fun. It's a good topic, as Con said. So
it's a great topic. I mean, I don't think there could be.
It sounds like maybe like it's more hot with White Sox Dave than some of these guys.
Yeah, honestly.
That raccoon,
that midget,
that raccoon, unbelievable. That piece of content he did with Francis, he just got exposed for the trash that he is.
Yeah,
and I think any uncertainty about what an individual he is was washed away with that video that he made with Francis. Just utter disgusting trash.
And as he knows, Al Capone was once public enemy number one in Chicago. In Nadu's world, he's public enemy number one now.
Oh,
right. Maybe this is how the three guys really unite, was their hate of White Sox Dave.
Complete loser.
I didn't have a problem with him. There was one thing in the video when he stormed off, like you can't be doing that in content.
Agreed.
Somebody
totally.
does something you like you can't.
Yeah,
you can't
like
just
be a
storm
professional
off. So
one time.
That's the advice I would give him.
No storm, especially on streams or anything like that. No
Right.
storm.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on, Dave.
Never.
Total pussy.
We don't do that at this company.
All right, made up point.
We made our point. I would also like to say too, before we get going, since this is kind of a new era for the draft here. The records will be starting off at 0-0 starting today.
You motherfucker.
I'm sorry.
Why? Because Ed still has 0 wins on the board, and I've got a couple, and now so we're gonna start keeping score.
Red Ed's starting early.
Yeah, now.
It's a new foundation.
You know what? We'll call it preseason. I got momentum heading into this. So,
all right, sure.
Yeah.
You're right. All right, it's a preseason win you got last week. So
Yeah.
it's 0-0. We're gonna keep a stat graphic. It's going to get a little competitive, and we will head into the new year 0-0. Everyone's 0-0, and we were going to keep pumping these and it's going to be competitive again. Okay.
Yeah, we like that.
So with that said, no win. Congrats on your preseason win.
Thank you.
Means nothing, but congrats. And we could do the order here. All right. Producer Tom has number 1 through 5 behind his back. Cons, what number is it?
3.
No.
Nadu.
6.
1 through 5.
No.
What? It says 6.
What?
I wonder why we struggle in the dozen.
That's a new low. We've had guys guess the same number before. We've never had someone guess 6, 1 through 5. No, we had to skip you. Your answer was
Rico.
6.
I was thinking of something else.
Rico.
1.
No.
Chief.
2.
No.
5.
No.
Cons.
Does he get it? Does he know what's left on the board?
Oh,
I haven't heard 4.
There you go.
there you go.
Yeah, it's 4.
All right. I'm simple, man. I like going first. I'll just go first.
All right, 1 through 4, Jeff.
3.
No.
Rico, 1 through 4.
4.
No.
2.
Yeah.
I'll go 3rd overall.
All right, 1 through 3. Me. I'm gonna say 1.
No.
Jeff.
3. Nope.
3.
Is it 3?
It's 3.
All right, Jeff. What do you want? 2, 4, or 5?
I'll go 2.
Okay. 1 or 2, Rico.
1.
Yeah.
All right, you want 4 or 5?
I'll go 5th. I'll take the rep round.
All right. So the order is Cons, Jeff, Chief, Eddie, Rico. All right, let's get into it. Before we do that, I want to talk about our friends at Miller Lite. From holiday gatherings and office parties to fireside conversations and football Sundays, winter means more moments with the coolest people in your life. Make these moments even better with Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer. For people who love beer, a new year is a perfect time for friends, family, and great tasting light beer. It's Miller time. Chief, the most dependable beer, the flavor of Miller Lite.
Great tasting, less filling, 96 calories, 3.2 carbs. I've got them, I've said it before, they're on my back porch all winter long. That's my beer of choice. Stop for happy hour at Sheffield's, give me a Miller Lite. It's that time of year. Just sit down for nice, cold, crisp Miller Lite.
Beautiful. It's brewed for taste. It hits different than other light beers. It's made from simple ingredients. Miller Lite is for people who love the taste of beer. Malted barley gives it the rich, balanced toffee note flavors and the golden color you know and love. And a clean finish means it's always refreshing and easy to drink. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/redline to find the delivery options near you, or obviously, it's Miller Lite. You can find it anywhere that they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly at Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. All right, the Rivalries Draft is underway. Anything's on the board here. It's free for all, and fictional counts as well. So, Cons, lead us off here.
Yeah. So I made the mistake last draft I was on of holding on to a pick because I didn't think anybody else would get it. And then, Chief, you took it when you took Springsteen, and it kind of ruined my day. So I'm going to keep this simple. I mean, I got the hat on. I got the background. I think it should come as no surprise that I am taking Army-Navy as my first pick. A lot of people, when you look at bucket lists for sporting events, a lot of people will list Army-Navy. When you look at sports rivalries, certainly college football, people will list Army-Navy. It transcends the game. It goes beyond even football, like Army and Navy, like we're all out in the military together. There's a subtle rivalry there too. I don't think you can really argue with Army Navy and saying that's not a rivalry. So that's my first pick.
Cons, I get why you did it.
Yeah,
Because of the Springsteen factor. I get why you had to. You had to do it.
He basically he had the whole draft of where he wanted to pick. He's like, I'm going 1-1 because I got snaked out of Springsteen. So I'm already on his head. He's already on tilt. I kind of look. I love this game. I know why you took it. It's great rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if maybe it's not as much of a blood feud at the end of the day as some of these
Other ones.
And
That's what I was
tell
going to ask. Like when the guys are on the field, is it like there's no late hits? There's no like it's still
very
a major
respectful
rivalry, but it's not like the Avalanche.
We don't tip picks.
Red
there.
Wings rivalry, like when they cut that trailer of late hits, this, that, like Army Navy is not doing that. It is respect, but it is a massive rivalry. It's the only game that's going to be standalso.
I wish you didn't.
And I think that's unfortunately going to go away with the college football expansion just because of the amount of weekends. So that possibly might stink in the future. But I will say there is that hatred. I think you just get good kids, so that's why you don't see like dirty plays and maybe those other things that kind of surround a heated rivalry. It's very heated. I can tell you also, having lost 14 years in a row, and then, now Army's kind of the premier one, having won 5 of the last 7. There is a lot of hatred there in the recruiting. There are a lot of things said by that other school down south, that boat school. They say not nice things about us. So they use dirty tactics in recruiting. So I promise you, it very much is more heated than meets the eye.
Nadu, what do you think?
I mean, I agree 100% with Rico. It wouldn't be on my list. I mean, it's obviously a subtle rivalry. We know why he had to pick it.
Still be on the list. It's just a.
It's
like not even a small knock. It's just that's the only thing that, like Chief said, blood feud.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get why you guys say that. And I think that's a compliment to both the schools and the teams. But, I mean, when everything around the school is beat Navy or beat Army, if you're down at Annapolis, it runs a lot deeper than the surface.
But in the end, this is a draft, and it's a competition, and it is not the best and top pick.
Good point, Jeff.
Okay, I mean, I disagree. But go ahead.
I mean, if I were Cons, I would just be like, you guys don't respect the troops and let's move on. That's how I would do it. That's how I would handle all these criticisms. Like, you guys just don't respect
I don't even know
troops.
if there is a 1-1. So at that point, it's like, take what you want.
I think
That's
there's
another
a 1-1.
thing. I mean, it depends. I think there's 6 different ways to attack this draft. So I don't know that there is a 1-1.
I have a 1-1, but we'll see.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're up now, Nadu.
Yeah,
So what's your 1-1?
Yeah, what are we doing to do here? What do you think?
Carolina Duke. I mean, that's
Dude, you want to talk like that wasn't even relevant. I mean, Duke was a trash program until Coach K, Army grad, came in and revived them. Duke,
and what was that?
UNC,
30, 40 years ago?
I guess. Army Navy goes back
But you look at
100
the
plus years.
Geographics. You look at how close they are. You look at how much they hate each other. The top level players over the years. The coaches.
Cons is trying to argue that Duke isn't relevant when he just picked Army Navy. Like that game, they only play one game that they care about.
Before Coach K got there. Don't put words in my mouth.
40 years of being relevant.
Programs?
It's 40 years of being relevant where Army and Navy haven't exactly been competing for national championships and Heismans for about 60 years.
Exactly.
All right. You know what? Whatever.
All right.
It's the best rivalry. It's right up there with the Yankees and Red Sox. Right
Well, we don't tip picks on this show. That's strike one and strike one for you two guys, for Rico and for Nadu off the bat here. But
She's fired up.
I would say that college basketball in general and this rivalry in general is not as good since the one and done became such a thing at both programs.
See, I disagree though. I think it always has juice, and I think a big thing is just something about both their courts are so fucking sweet.
Yep.
You know, you see Cameron Indoor and you see Chapel, and you're just like, man, something about when in the color contrast, you got the light blue, you got the royal, and it's something about it. Whoever's playing, I always feel it. And I'll always tune in.
When it was Tyler Hansbrough in year 3 of his career, he's bleeding from his face.
It was
and it's
better,
like,
yes.
Right, because they cared because they had gone through the wars and they're back again, and it's like, here we go, and it's that or like early 90s Leitner, like they fucking hated that guy. Reddick hated him. And it's just since the star players aren't there for more than 2 games.
But to say you turn your nose up at a Duke Carolina game, I think is bullshit.
I'm not turning my nose up at it. I don't know if it's a 1-1 like Nadu is saying.
What do you think, Rico?
But also remember, here's another thing, and this is insane. Over the last 100 or so matchups, it's virtually identical score-wise.
Yep.
Like the games are always very good. I mean, you occasionally have one bad one, but it's always a knockdown, drag out. They hate each other. They want to beat each other the fuck up. It's, it's crazy.
I think it has the potential to lose some luster if we find out Shire and Hubert Davis are not the guys. Because I could see that. Like, I also think the familiarity with when it was Williams against against K, and then it was Dean against K. Like, you knew the coaches were the 6th man on the floor, basically.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Shire is going to be okay. Hubert Davis obviously got to a final, but they were an 8. If these guys aren't the guys and we reshuffle the deck in like 5 years, I could see people being like, lose a little bit of a luster. You know what I mean? So
I think that's a great point.
Yeah. And to Rico's point, I think so much of the rivalry in the last 30 or whatever amount of years was the coaches, where you take them away. And I don't know, was there much of a rivalry before the 80s? The way it's seen in the last 30 years.
But I mean, you can look at, and I don't want to tip picks, but the old Big East, like those rivalries were as heated as it would get. And that was driven largely by the coaches. So I think Rico's on to something there without Coach K or Smith or Williams. It's just not, college sports, especially college basketball, I feel like is so personality driven by the coaches.
But it still has major staying power.
Yes, it's definitely draftable. I'm pushing back on the 1-1 distinction.
Yeah, but to his point, though, you said the one and done. Of course, like I'm saying, it did hurt it. Don't get me wrong. Like the Hansboroughs and the fucking JJ Reddicks, they made that rivalry better. But I mean, Coach K and they were just as vital to that rivalry.
Yes, and
him going to that press conference and taking a shot or something like that was huge.
Yeah.
So and now that he's gone, that's a great point by Rico. So, all right, Duke Carolina, Chief, you're up.
I'm taking Ohio State Michigan. Ohio State Michigan, to me, that is the marquee rivalry game. It has now with Harbaugh has Michigan back. That game has had playoff implications. Both of them were in the playoffs this year. They're competing for the Big Ten title. They're competing for the national championship. It is, to me, college football. They still have fights. I feel like that happens like at least once a class. Like if you go through 4 years at Michigan or Ohio State, there's probably going to be a in-game or pre-game fight. Like that matters. They fucking hate each other. That is a 365 kind of rivalry, even though they only played the one day. It's, to me, that is I think I got the 1-1 pick. 3rd overall. Like I think Ohio State, Michigan, that's it. No pushback.
I mean,
None.
Listen.
None.
No. Well, so it's obviously a great rivalry. I think, and I'm helping you here because I'm a nice guy.
Thank you.
The whole argument about Army Navy, 364 days a year, they're on the same team and they graduate and they all fight together and it's all kumbaya. Not fully true, but that hate that Ohio State and Michigan have, that's 365. That never changes. They don't graduate and decide we can be friends now. That hate lives on, which I respect.
Yeah, and I think the reason that they play it at 11 a.m. Central Time, is because they don't want people drinking all day because it leads to fucking chaos. I remember like 04, 05, they had to bring tear gas out in the streets of Columbus to kind of rally in to disperse the crowds because it was so chaotic. So that one, it is like a genuine blood feud where they absolutely hate those people on the other side.
I almost wish they didn't go to playoff expansion because for the last 2 years, that game basically decided who was going.
I kind of agree with you, Rico.
I actually didn't I didn't even like that Ohio State. Now you could say Ohio State could have won the title, so it's not fair to not include them. But it's well, yeah, we're one of the 4 best teams. It's well, you lost to Michigan. I always still say that too. They didn't even play in their conference championship.
Yep.
Just make these conferences and games de facto playoff games. But expansion's going to be fine too. So it is what it is. But it'll mean that much more with Ohio State knowing Michigan cost us a chance at the title.
Yeah, and then, I mean they have like the history too. Like they have a period in their history called the 10-year war. Like they were both competing for the national championship. I think they had like 7 of the 10 national championships, or 6 of the 10 in that run were between those two teams, or at least a share of it between those two teams. Schembechler, Woody Hayes, like it's been it's never really dipped that much. Like every rivalry has peaks and valleys, but that one is like, you mark your calendar that Saturday after Thanksgiving, it's going to be great.
Yeah, the gold pants story. Was it who put the numbers on the just go watch the HBO doc.
Yep.
They did a great job. Michigan, Ohio State, the rivalry. Whoever got blown out, they put the number on the helmet. That was sweet. The lopsidedness of the 2000s was so bad. So I'm happy that era's over. That was the only con. It just got so bad for a while.
Yeah.
It was so like Michigan was just so
they were the doormat for a bit. Yeah.
So terrible.
But in like college football in general is just better.
Yeah.
When that game matters and when Michigan is back, and that's how we're living now. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's to me. I'm going the first non-sports pick, and I'm happy to get it. I feel like I'm missing something here. I'm taking Democrats versus Republicans.
I had that on my list.
I mean, you want to talk about a bloodfeast?
It's got heated over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
This is a rivalry that has broken up families, marriages, has caused Christmases to be ruined, and I think with the advent of social media and how much politics has bled into social media, we've only amplified it. Trust me, I see it in my own family. It is not good. I think that's a great pick.
Well, Cons, Rico makes a very good point. Up until 8 years ago, it was there. It's definitely a rivalry, but
yeah,
the last 8 years has been really a rivalry. It wasn't when I was a kid and we were all kids. It wasn't as pronounced.
These boys stepped it up.
Agree.
They had some buzzer-beating games, man. They sold out. They sold out some gyms.
Some of the numbers were disputed about how many people were in that gym. It was no one knows for sure.
People, what do you call it? Have almost adapted this as a team now. Like they take on
that's
red and blue as being
1,000%.
their fucking identity. It's wild.
They got mascots and everything.
Yeah. The other thing with social media is I think so much people had no idea by and large, like, oh, were you a Republican or a Democrat? And now you really, and if you decide to put it out there, you know a lot more where people stand. And I think that only adds fuel to the fire because it's just going to ultimately, like I said, that's where fights originate among family members and friends when previously they just never talked about politics. Now it's just so in your face, you can't avoid it.
Yeah. It was also, I feel like it used to be like, you could hear something from the other side and be like, that's an all right idea. That's an all right idea. Now it's just like, oh, gone. Fuck you. Yeah, exactly. That's gone. Fuck you. Speaking of that, I got last night maybe the most insane string of DMs from a guy. I almost want to call him out because it was that insane. And so shout out to Michael Hatzel, who wrote me libitimately. It probably took him 4 hours, one sentence at a time, and it was all about how Illinois people from you and I are libs and Democrats from Illinois, and we don't know anything, and I don't even know what he was talking about. He never told me like what triggered him, but it was just like he was screaming, and then he ended it with like "Love you, Viva." I was like, oh,
I mean, like, listen, your guys' picks, like, there's like a handshake line after the game. There's no handshake line with my pick.
Oh, that's naive. You don't think that there's some smoke-filled room where it's like, let's get the normal people all fired up and we'll just make the laws back here and everybody gets rich and then tell all the regular America to go fuck. They might actually be on the same team, Ed.
But
I don't know if you watched that Supreme Court thing or not Supreme Court, the McCarthy thing, Speaker of the House. They were seemingly chummy, a lot of them, ones that you would think that were major enemies. They're shaking hands, laughing. Behind the scenes, they're all cool.
Sure.
I don't do politics, but you know what shuts people up all the time when they're like, why do you care so much about sports? I'm like, because I'll watch a game tonight for 3 hours and somebody's going to win. I was like, you guys have been watching this show for years, and we're talking about the same shit. Nobody wins. Lower taxes. Like, that's in everybody's speech. That. Nobody wins. We're just resetting the clock and shuffling in
new people.
New team.
Yeah.
Like
not even really new people. It's not new people. It's everybody is 80. Everybody who's involved is 80 years old. So it's crazy. That's a good point too, Rico.
Yeah. I stopped caring when Ross Perot got fucked.
But you say, yeah, that's the people at the front. But like you said, these people are on the team too.
The people on the
streets. People fighting. And those people ain't shaking hands.
Yeah.
That's a fucking blood feud.
I think it's very evident. Like, everybody starts from a place of hate. And we've seen that hate doesn't work. But that's when you talk politics, people start from a place of hate. They hear you say anything, they're like, let me tell you why you're stupid before anything else and why you're wrong. That's a feud. I'll give it to you, Ed. That's a good pick.
Blood feud. Thank you. I was thrilled to get it, number 4. Rico.
Yeah, I'll stay non-sports. Bloods and the Crips.
Good one.
Yeah.
I mean,
they got truces though. Many.
I mean, it's a famous meme, but I mean, you
right.
you don't sign a truce with your buddy. So
No.
I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, I wonder if those guys were even in the Bloods and Crips. I think that was propaganda to like show that things were right in the world. I don't think either of those guys.
I will
really
say
in.
though, there have been, on paper truces. They're very famous ones, but that's just certain sects and stuff, like sects of Crips and Bloods.
Either way, they that was a rivalry for a long time.
Absolutely, for sure.
It's a good pick because when you use a metaphor to describe a rivalry, it's always like one that comes to the forefront, right? And it's like, man, they're like the Bloods versus the Crips.
They got colors.
Exactly. So that's why it fits. I don't. What's I mean, you're like super into this shit, Nadu. Is there like something Is there like a famous truce that they have and shit?
Well, there was one in Watts in the early '90s, but I mean, listen, again, the Bloods and Crips are everywhere. There's different sets and things like that. They, some hate some. It's all regional. There's one big group, but they're all different. They all do different things. So it's a good one. In the vast belief, most Bloods and Crips hate each other, right? You can't wear a blue, can't wear a red. So it's still a very good one. It would. To me, it's probably a early second round pick, but I think it's good here too. He's flipping, so
yeah. To me, I think it's definitely a good pick. I think
it's definitely the most pronounced gang organized crime. Like there was no mafia rivalry like that or anything like that. So yeah, I would definitely include it for pretty early, probably
for sure.
Anybody have a preference on them? Either one?
No.
I'm Switzerland, man. I'm Switzerland. Yeah. Dude, that was the thing growing up, always being able to make that sign with your hands.
Big time.
That was definitely a thing.
You want to flash it?
Hurts my fucking fingers. I haven't done it in years. Hurts the fourth fingering. This one hurts.
Yeah.
Stretching it.
Yeah. A couple of jammed fingers playing basketball, and that's over with.
No, but what's his name? Dante. We haven't done a doc review in a while on the show, but we used to do doc reviews. But Dante had us watch one on Amazon. It was the worst doc I've ever watched in my life.
Horrible.
Yeah, never watch it. Just that's the only thing I know
about
it.
We've been talking about this for about 3 minutes, where we've done a better job than that documentary did.
For real.
Yeah.
All right, Rico, kick off the second round.
Do I want to double up? Yeah. Fuck it, I'll double. It's kind of the same theme.
Yeah.
I'll take East Side, West Side, Biggie and Pac.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that one. I had that one, especially for guys our age, kind of watching that front row transpire in the 90s. That was a very, very big deal.
Which side were you
on?
On?
The song where he's like, they say if you slow it down, you can go shook shot me. You're like, what? It's fucking. That's.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what song.
I don't know
it is,
what fucking song it was, but Biggie and Pac was lunacy. Although, funny story. That poster that they sold with Tupac of like 1972 to 1997. You ever see that in the record stores?
Yeah.
See, I'll pull it up. Take 2 seconds.
It also is very heated because at one point they were friends and they became just extreme enemies,
Yeah, no, this is a good pick. So much so that this was going to be my next pick. So
yeah, it was on my list.
Because also too, like aside from Biggie and Pac both being killed, there were other events that really showcased that there was a rivalry very, very prominently. There were lyrics in songs, as Rico pointed out, that point to the rivalry. So it was just so pronounced. I don't know how you could ignore it.
All right, so here it is, right? So see that 1971, 1996?
Right.
My cousin had it on his wall and did a question mark in the same font. He was like a good artist. So when the first time I saw it was this with the question mark. I went to like Coconuts or FYE or one of those places and flipping through the posters, it's there. I grabbed the sales associate. I go, hey, you ever like, where's the question mark? He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, this is how it's been sold for the last 3 years I've been working here. I'm like, sorry. Next family party. I'm like, yo, did you do it? He's like, oh yeah, I did that. It looked so fucking good. I was like, all right. I thought they sold it with the question mark.
This is also a good one because, I mean, as far as rap beefs, I mean, it's the only one that sadly resulted in both people
Death.
dying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you see Biggie or Nas or Jay-Z or Nas or whoever, I mean, they all eventually dropped the beef. D Block and Diplomat, they all squashed the beef. So that's a great one. That would be in my list as well right away.
I had a red Yankees cap from the More Money, More Problems.
Did you?
Yeah, fifth or sixth grade. That was I was an East
You
Side
seem
guy.
like you would have bought that more because of Limp Bizkit.
No, I was not a Limp Bizkit guy. It was all from the More Money, More Problems video.
Do you
You weren't
imagine?
a nookie kind of guy?
No, wasn't. That was,
Chief.
that
By the
was, that
way,
was my
speaking
rap
of-
era.
These guys, Suge Knight, ultimate shithead scumbag.
Yeah, just an
Yeah.
absolute scumbag. Yeah.
Total loser.
He's in jail, right?
Yeah, he ran
yeah.
somebody over, tried to kill him.
30 years. I think.
Yeah,
I'm not saying nothing bad about Suge Knight. I'll be honest. He scares me.
he's a scary dude. He's a fucking scary
He had a
dude.
prominent thing in the NWA one, right?
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suge, don't come after me. All right, it's to me. Do I go sports, man? It's been heavy.
I mean, there's
sports.
obviously so many in sports, but there's so many just in life.
so
Fiction,
many,
nonfiction. There's a lot. Like I said at the top, there's so many different ways to go.
The great topic.
bro. There's so many.
I have 36 choices.
36 choices. That's a deep
Wow.
board, Cons. That's a
I
deep
made a
board.
list of 36.
I'm gonna go with. All right, I'm gonna, since you guys got your sports, and no, I'm not gonna go sports. I don't think you guys are gonna go sports since you guys went sports already. I'm gonna go with the brand one. It's a little cupcakey, but I think back in the day it was huge. They don't really take shots anymore, but I think Pepsi and Coke was a big deal back in the day.
Yes.
It was a big
I had that
deal
one.
back in the day. The Cola Wars, as they would call it. They would do those blind taste tests, like you go wherever, and they would always fight to see who it was. And like doing research for this draft before, like they did so many attack ads. Why don't attack ads? They're like not a thing anymore, I feel.
I heard a theory that it's like if you're spending money to mention the other brand, it kind of in a way turns into an ad for them. So you don't.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard that was part of the thinking. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I have heard that.
Yeah. Did you guys watch that documentary about the dude who collected all the Pepsi points for the Harrier jet?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I did.
I mean, they talk about like how Pepsi was so focused on their ad campaign to compete directly with Coke without mentioning Coke, but it was very evident why they were doing all of that.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to be like, oh, look, because they would bring in athletes and actors and actresses. They were trying to be like the cool brand to somehow get people to buy Pepsi as opposed to Coke. Meanwhile, they mostly taste the same, right? I'm not
I think
saying
Coke
anything out of turn
is.
there.
Pepsi's a little sweeter.
Yeah, I like Coke
I
better.
think it's pronounced.
I think
Yeah.
Chief has been quoted saying this before, so I'm going to steal his. But when you go to a restaurant and ask for Coke, they apologize if they have Pepsi, or they
Yeah.
ask if it's okay. So
Yeah.
you said that, right, Chief?
It sounds like something I would say. I'll take credit for it. Sounds good.
Fair enough. But it's,
Yeah.
so it's they taste enough. I think if you were going to get a soda and somebody says Pepsi, you're not going to switch to water or whatever.
Yeah.
But They definitely apologize. I think Coke is superior.
Coke also, we did an episode of Dog Walk with this a couple of years ago. They were like so worried that Pepsi was eating into their market share that they changed their own formula to be more like Coke, or be more like Pepsi rather, and then switch back. There's a great History Channel show like The Food That Made Us or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was like a Netflix Blockbuster situation with Coke and Pepsi where like the guy who founded Pepsi like offered to sell his brand to Coke for like basically nothing in like the 1910s. And they're like, nah, we don't need to. And then like 30 years later, like it was on. It was like a big time battle.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe not as like cutthroat as back in the day, especially because now both these corporations own so many different entities.
Yeah.
Where they have both of these as their top dogs, but they're making so much out of
I think that's more to your point. Because it's like, oh, this company needs to have a sports drink, so we better go acquire a sports drink.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they're always kind of like positioning themselves to compete against each other.
Yeah,
I will say, I don't know anyone that likes Pepsi over Coke.
Frank the Tank took Pepsi number 1 overall in the soda pop
Did he
draft.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get that.
Yeah. I think they both have a place, in my opinion.
Yeah, they do, but Coke is just so superior.
What do you think, can or bottle?
Bottle, preferably Mexican cola.
I think
that's
glass
different.
is different.
Yeah.
I think can over plastic bottle all day, though.
Yeah.
Small
I
glass.
agree with you there.
You think?
Small glass, fountain, 20-ounce bottle. Can, 20-ounce bottle.
Ooh, can's got to be higher, Rico.
I like the bottle as well.
I like the can.
Yeah, I think can's got to be higher.
I like the can.
The can
And then
is
I think
really
fountain. There's something.
Fountain's ridiculous, though. Fountain's ridiculous.
That used to be like one of like it probably still is. I don't do it anymore, but like the A1 hangover cure, you just go through that McDonald's drive-through the next day.
Yeah, but they're different. They got a little something special going there.
Yeah, they got something in that.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the fountain ones now. A lot of places have them. You feel like you're doing a science experiment. You touch the screen and you get like different flavors.
Yeah.
Those are the best. You go into a place that has one of those, that's good living.
Yeah.
I actually think it's less. I think that hurt the quality of it.
You think so?
I don't think that fountain Coke tastes the same as the 5-gun.
Dude,
I think yeah.
Maybe it's the water pressure or something like that. The hack on that is go ginger ale with cherry. It's basically a Shirley Temple.
I've learned that, dude. There's like the Coca-Cola freestyle machine is like so polarizing. You either fucking love it or you hate it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I also think the flavor, like if you click Coke cherry on there, it's not really cherry Coke. It's Coke. You see that red shit coming
little
out.
grenadine.
Yeah, it's like a cherry syrup.
Yeah. It's a little different. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this has lost a little steam, but it's still a fucking rivalry. You know these two companies go at each other's neck. And the attack, bring them back.
I'd like that.
Need some juice. I watched some little kid. He got 2 Cokes. He was short, and then he just put the 2 Cokes down. He stood on them to hit the top button so he could get a Pepsi. That was kind of clever.
I've also heard that the reason why Taylor Swift has never done a halftime show for the Super Bowl is because it's a Pepsi has like the rights to the halftime show, and she has a deal with Coke.
Oh,
so that's
really?
why Taylor has never.
Oh, that
been
makes
able,
perfect sense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep.
All right, Chief.
I'll go with USA Russia. This has been going on for 80 years now.
You did it again.
Cold War. I mean, talk about competing in every single way possible. Proxy wars for 50, 60, 70 years. Political spectrum, athletics, technology, space race. They went head to head in every possible way except the battlefield, except for like actually like we're going to war. Knock on wood. But that's been something that's been going on for forever. The biggest geopolitical rivalry, certainly of the last century, probably of this century so far too. So USA versus Russia, great hockey history, a little bit of basketball history didn't go our way, but it's like it's like it just matters more. Like when you have Russia on the schedule, it just matters more, and it's like that to me is like the best geopolitical one.
Yeah. Damn, that was going to be my next pick. I mean, JFK, Khrushchev, the Olympics come to mind. So many different things. That's such a great pick. There's just so much hate and animosity there.
Boycotting the Olympics.
Drago.
Yeah. Even the fictional ones. Yep. So it bleeds into everything.
Yeah. Cold War. Just Such a good pick.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yep.
No-brainer. Anything else or Nadu?
I know. I
Self-explanatory.
think it is
Stands
right there.
alone.
The
It's a
fact
good
that they like raced, be like, we got to beat the we have to go to the moon for what purpose? To beat the Russians.
beat
Okay,
Russia.
here's $70 trillion to go to the moon. Like that tells you how much it mattered. That's like just like a marketing gimmick. Well, let's go to the moon. So, yeah. So I think that's another one that I feel like my board is shaping up nice. I'll probably fuck it up, but right now I'm feeling good.
Nadu, you're up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. This is kind of a weird one, but I'm kind of, I think it's surely pronounced. Hot versus cold.
Yeah.
Are we talking
Okay.
like high and low pressure systems? Like what are we talking about here?
Like just the overall rivalry between one extreme to the other. You can relate it into what happens after you die, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, but do like
You can relate it into injuries with.
does hot like square
Hot.
off against cold, or they just both kind of
they're
exist
a
and
pronounced
people
rivalry.
I think that's
One's
how
extreme and others an extreme.
I think that's how you
I
get
want people to keep notes. People keep notes of me, my progress of helping somebody here. But if you notice, in the middle of the winter, there's always people being like, yeah, you assholes who said you wanted snow and you don't want it to be too hot. The same with the summer. It's 1,000 degrees. I'd much rather be wearing a sweatshirt. There's definitely, the goal is to go outside the box. It's definitely an outside the box pick.
And it does create a lot of discussion, as he said. I mean, there's a lot of things you can connect it to. It's a rivalry. It's very pronounced.
Okay.
I feel like when like hot and cold like weather systems, isn't that how you get thunder
Yeah.
and lightning? I think. I don't know.
Yes.
I think that's true.
Convergence, all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. It
So, all right,
different-
hot
yeah.
versus cold.
There's
What-
so many extremes you could take it with hot, cold.
Nadu, I'm not gonna lie, was not on my board, but you know,
But it's like heaven or hell. It's the same thing.
yeah. Okay.
Hot versus cold. What are they beefing over though?
Have you seen that? There's
People like better, I guess.
yeah. There's like that fable. I guess that was the wind versus the sun. So that doesn't really. I don't know, man.
I will say I had another one here, but I thought it'd be a little touchy, so I didn't do it. Now I'm going to go with this.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fair to do. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're closest. I just feel I'm trying to get there with you, Nadu. I don't know if I'm there.
It's a
though.
rivalry.
What'd you say?
It's a rivalry.
All right.
I feel like that's a discussion for like what kind of vacation would you like? You
Yeah,
want to be in the
yeah, yeah.
mountains or you want to be on the beach?
Yeah, that's or maybe like a cruise. You want the Caribbean or you want the fucking Alaskan cruise? All right. How
Hot
about
versus
that?
cold.
Hot
What about coffee?
Hey.
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 Like I said, there's so many things that connect to this. Like,
Hey.
Yeah. People are
Everything-
adamant about how they take their coffee and, have an iced coffee in the winter and vice versa. So I get it.
Those
How
people are
about
children.
How about that? Write that down. Nadu, Bosco giving you a buoy.
Giving you a buoy.
Write that
I
down.
love
There's
it.
layers to it too. Like, I mean, this we don't give away picks, but this is a good one off of that. What about girls in the office versus air conditioning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fucking hate that air conditioner.
Bro, they
Yeah.
I picked it, Chief, the one that the coworker complains about.
Oh yeah.
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 In the air conditioner draft. That's the best when you know it's kicking. That's when it's the best.
All right, you got me there. You
That's
got
a
me
good
there.
one.
Especially, tell you what, especially in Manhattan, it's gross and disgusting. You're walking around the streets of Manhattan in the summer. You just need that AC to be firing on all cylinders. So I don't know how anybody ever complains about it.
Yeah.
I don't do politics or religion, but it is against my religion to shut off an air conditioner.
And also, one other thing.
Just get more blankets.
Think about some of the greatest things you're discussing in life, the greatest feelings, air conditioning, a hot shower, getting into a warm bed. It's a lot. There's so many discussion points.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Nadu. Cons.
All right.
A lot of ground to
Chief
make
again.
up.
Yeah, Chief again took a pick for me. USA Russia was going to be my next pick. I shouldn't
mean,
be giving you credit because that's a great pick.
Well, I mean, you could have had Army Navy in this spot because I guarantee no one was going to take it in the first 9 picks. So.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't want to do that again. I didn't want to try to outthink the room.
But you
and
did.
then all of a sudden, one
But
of
you
you
did.
throws Army Navy in my face, and then I look like a schmucko as the guy who props up Army all the time, who doesn't even take his own rivalry. I didn't want to potentially live with that. Fine.
Okay.
I was
You have
going to
USA
take a pick
Russia.
here, but I'm not going to. even though it would be funny.
All right. I am going to go. This is chalky. I don't care. It has to be picked. It's always mentioned when you mention rivalries, and that's Yankees Red Sox. It was heated for the longest time. Obviously, the Red Sox breaking the curse. I think it's cooled in recent years, but even still, it hasn't really. Like, there's still, I think, a level of disdain because it speaks to a larger Boston versus New York, the cities, the rivalry that exists between Boston and New York. And if I'm tipping a pick there, sorry, but I think it's beyond just the game of baseball. People ask, what's a great rivalry in sports? Yankees, Red Sox always gets mentioned. Gave us so many great moments in sports history. I don't think you can have this draft and not mention them. So I'm going Yankees, Red Sox.
That, I think baseball for me peaked that 03 to 04 run with those two teams where you had Theo's like calling them the evil empire. They're going out and they're getting, they're snaking guys from like, the Contreras thing, the Veritek fight on the field against A-Rod,
Don Zimmer.
Don Zimmer. Yeah, like that there. I think that was 90. Was that 03?
Don Zimmer?
Yeah.
That was like
I thought that was like 90.
No, that was not the 90s.
No, that wasn't
Okay.
the 90s.
That
It
was
was 2000s.
No, it was
But
back to back. 03 was Brett fucking Boone, and
Yep.
04 was the 3-0. So,
Right.
like, you couldn't have scripted it any better than that. And
Yep.
then it just kind of went off of a cliff. I think the Red Sox, even when the Red Sox were good, the Yankees weren't.
Yeah.
Now the Yankees are good, the Red Sox aren't. Like, it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's-
I mean, for the longest time, too, people just in the Major League Baseball hated the Yankees because of Steinbrenner, and he just used that money and influence to just beat the shit out of the Red Sox year in and year out. So I just think for all those reasons. I mean, when you're actually fighting on the field, when you have
Don Zimmer,
Pedro
stuff like
Martinez
that.
throwing Don Zimmer on the ground,
Yeah.
That's
I mean, that's a rivalry.
It's just tough to draft something after hot versus cold. That's going to compare to that. So,
well, I have another one that
Yeah.
but never mind.
Right.
I won't say anything more.
Yankees
but-
Red Sox still
no,
plays.
it definitely does.
I mean, Chief, let's just be honest. Hot versus cold was a fucking great pick. Nobody thought of it.
Listen, let me tell you guys something that I've gotten to know Nadu a little bit more being on his trivia team. I think Nadu's greatest asset is that nobody loves Nadu the way Nadu loves Nadu. Okay, he will tell you,
See, even Rico's starting to see it. He gets it. Everybody gets it.
and I love him for that. He's his greatest cheerleader.
I've moved down to lukewarm. We've moved down to DEFCON.
okay.
He's still on a watch list though.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
No, Sox and
All
Yanks at place.
Yeah.
Yep. And then for my
Not
next
fully
pick,
TSA approved yet.
No. You're not wrong. Again.
I feel like Rico needs a passport just to leave Staten Island. He's like, he's coming into Manhattan. We were check him.
Cons.
okay. One, and maybe this is recency bias, just because something happened this week that really reignited something that's now existed for a lot of years, and that's Barstool versus the NFL. I think you got
a good one.
You got Dave versus Goodell. You have Barstool getting banned from being allowed at media day for the Super Bowl, as demonstrated by our colleague there, Will Compton. You have Dave getting dragged out of the Super Bowl while in disguise. It's just ridiculous on so many different levels, and I don't see either side. I can speak for Barstool and say Dave will never relent. He's never going to give any ground. So I don't know if the NFL ever will. So it might be a stalemate for eternity. So Barstool versus the NFL.
I
Yeah.
had Dave versus Goodell on my list.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah.
But it's broader than that now, too. Now Compton's in the mix, and it's, I think, wasn't PFT and Big Cat snuck in a few years ago dressed up as, like, I think PFT was an old late, like they were old
women.
people. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's, I think that's a great pick.
I don't know law. I don't know law, but he did say under oath that he didn't know who they were. Like, is there a counter lawsuit to that? Like,
For perjury?
Sounds like perjury.
Yeah.
yeah, was it who's going to take that case?
I mean, if anybody would, it would be
Mike
Dave.
Portnoy.
Let's
Yeah,
jam
Mike
up.
Portnoy Esquire.
Let's jam up the legal system with that one.
Yeah,
Why not?
that's what Congress needs right now.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Other than the gas prices.
I mean, listen, we know that rivalry better than anyone, right?
Yeah. I think it's, and like I said, I don't think it's going anywhere because neither side's going to give an inch.
But the irony is it's also like the fucking league we cover and love the most.
Yes. Yes. We're not going to like boycott the league. We're still going to continue to watch it, to gamble on it, to just be consumed by it. So
They got us by the balls.
yeah, that's what's crazy.
They got America by the balls. The safety, the rivalries, I don't care. I'm showing up. I can't wait for this weekend. I can't wait for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Very excited. I actually have, I'm a house divided. I'm a Giant fan. The wife's an Eagle fan, and she gets animated during these games. So I'm part of me's not looking forward to tomorrow night.
Big weekend. Nadu, back to you.
I was telling myself I was going to include something kind of connected to myself in this. And when you really think about it, this is one of the best rivalries in sports. Maybe we don't get into as much. Eagles, Cowboys. If you're from this area, if you're from Dallas, I mean, it is fucking pronounced. I hate the fucking Cowboys. Everyone in this area hates the fucking Cowboys. When it's a week type of thing, a whole week. You got the Bounty Bowls. You got some of the returns of like T.O., Michael Irvin's final game in Philadelphia when they cheered his injury. People here fucking hate the Cowboys, hate them. And I'm sure it's the same there. So when you go to these games, it's unsafe a lot of the time for an opposing fan. I think it's one of the most pronounced rivalries in sports.
I mean, there's that classic clip where it's like, Dallas, we hate you. And it's just like this classic, like big mustache mullet Philly guy, probably from like 1992 or late 80s, early 90s. It was just like that to me is like NFL films, like that era. Yeah, like that one. That's one of those. I saw like the way the playoffs were breaking. And I was like, man, I hope we get that game. And and there's like a ton of just like interesting little rivalries this divisional round. So I know this is coming out afterwards, but yeah, if we get Cowboys and Eagles, that would be great.
I think what's interesting about the Cowboys is that they haven't done bupkis since they won the Super Bowls in the early 90s. So people really shouldn't hate them that much anymore because they don't really factor in. Obviously, this year they do with how deep they've gone in the playoffs. But for a very long time, they haven't been a factor in the NFL. So the fact that there's still a level of hate to the level, that's a lot of time saying the word level, I think just speaks to that's a good pick to do.
Yeah, I feel like they had, maybe it's the moniker America's team, where it's like, fuck those guys with their helmets, and they'll probably go, going back to like Staubach and Landry, like they probably hated him for 50 years.
Yeah, and I think Jerry Jones does nothing to help that.
He makes me laugh a little bit.
Nadu, what do you think about them cheering that Irvin injury?
Well, I was young.
You cheered it, didn't you?
I can't say I didn't do it as well.
Yeah.
Even as a young kid, I remember someone in the room said, "Look, he's fucking injured," and someone screamed. I forget who it was. Someone in my family. So I've been always born into a group of scumbags. So it's just how
So would you classify yourself as a Philly scumbag?
Oh yeah, probably the biggest.
That says a lot living like 3 hours away too. So I mean, that's respect.
I do live outside of the city now, but I used to live 2650 South Watt Street. You know that. Shout out to the Eagles. I'm a Philly guy, Philly area.
Okay.
Just like you. You what do you live 2 hours away from Manhattan?
If there was a time difference.
I feel like we're dialing the notch up a little bit. You're not from here. You're not from there.
Bridge is closed. He can't get there. And we all know Staten Island.
We're about halfway through the draft, and it's starting to get a little bit.
We don't even recognize the Staten Island when they talk about boroughs.
Iman, Pete Davidson, Colin Jost, Angelina's big ass.
Hey, speaking of Staten Island, you ever see that movie Staten Island Summer with Colin Jost?
That one's really good.
It is. I think it's a really good movie.
I shut off Pete's movie when he wore a realty company on his golf. When Bill Burr wore a realty company that I don't like on his golf shirt. Shut it off.
Yeah, dude.
Rico versus a realty company is my next pick.
I was surprised
actually.
people like that movie that much. I don't know.
I thought it was fine.
I thought Staten Island Summer was a better movie.
I've never even heard of that one.
If you haven't heard of it, go check it out. It's good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's it. Eagles fans are great. Chief, you're up.
It's like I don't want to be so heavy sports, but it's
About to do something stupid.
no.
It's hard to ignore, though.
It is hard to ignore because you see it in this instance twice a
He's gonna
year.
take himself versus the voters.
Yeah, it's not a rivalry. I dominate them. Chief hashtag Chief was right. I always get vindicated by history. I'm taking Bears Packers, so that's like some home cooking. One of the oldest rivalries. That's another one that over the course of time is like basically dead even. Although for the last, I don't know, since 92, it feels like the Bears have been on the short end of that, but it's about to flip the other way.
It is.
Rodgers going away, Fields ascending. We're going to have a real stadium. But Bears Packers, like that to me, like that is the NFL, the black and blue division, like that nickname, like that used to mean something, the old NFC Norris. So going on forever, iconic franchises, Bears Packers.
I like it. Curious to know your guys' opinion.
Anything in the NFL that goes back 100 years, like, what can you really put a con on?
Yeah, I don't know how you can really argue with that. It's a great rivalry. Obviously, the proximity to both teams lends itself to that. I don't have anything negative to say about it.
Does it hit home like if I see like let's say Eagles Cowboys is Sunday Night Football, I'm probably tuning in. If it's Bears Packers, are you guys? Move the needle for you the way the other one does?
It doesn't for me.
Okay.
I don't know about the other guys, but not for nothing. I mean, let's just be real. The Bears fucking blow, and they haven't been good in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That
can't.
kind of hurts.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's all
think when
regional
one
thing.
when one team isn't relevant for as long as the Bears haven't been relevant, I think it's tough to still get up for it.
A little hammer nail situation.
Yep.
Yeah, but the tides are
I
turning.
think baseball rivalries matter. I think obviously NFL rivalries matter. NHL rivalries matter. The one to me that I'll never is why I always justify college. People like, oh, it's not as good of a game. Like when two NBA teams who are really good play on a Saturday night, the fans don't seem as locked in as Kansas and Kansas State the other night.
would agree.
You know what I mean? That's why I
Yeah.
just always think college will matter more, especially with college football. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. But I would just that point is that the NBA is so far down in terms of the rivalry list.
Yeah.
I feel like those rivalries in the NBA, they're like moments in time. Like,
I
what
got
you're
a
saying,
few on the
yeah.
board, but they go for it matters. I'll tell you what, it mattered a lot more when it seemed like guys were in a revolving door.
that's true too.
Can
We
I-
weren't all friends now, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I could lead
So,
into my
yeah.
pick if I want to, unless if you got more Bears Packers commentary.
No.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so leading into the NBA, I'll make my pick. I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do. I'm not going to take a team rivalry. I'm actually going to take a player rivalry. I'm going to take Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, the dude fucking shunned him from the Dream Team.
yeah.
That's a fucking rivalry, dude. You guys, everybody here saw The Last Dance. That's real beef, dude. That's real beef. Isaiah, like, he still feels it in his bones. Michael still feels it in his bones, and it's how many years later?
I saw a clip recently of Magic and Isaiah, like, squashing it. And it felt a little bit like what we have going on here today, where it's like they squashed it after all these years. But yeah, you can tell, like, Michael still hates him, and it's like the Scotty clip where he's like, I don't want to speak for Michael. He's like, well, did you want him? And he's like, no, fuck that guy. And that was born from something on the court, and then it bled off the court, and it's like that. To me is like the mark where it's like, hey, like it's everybody just competes. Like you have to really hate somebody from that competition to have it be like, no, fuck him. I don't even want him on the team.
Yeah, I don't even respect that motherfucker. Yeah. So I think that's like a good NBA route, personally.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I like that just because of the longevity of it too, and the fact that at this point, given that both of those people have done so much beyond their basketball career that they really have no reason to still hate one another. And I don't think it's a two-way street. I think if you went to Isaiah and was like, hey, let's squash it, he would say, all right, cool. Jordan, I feel like it was going to take that one to his grave.
Jordan doesn't squash beefs.
He would. You're right. You're right, though, Cons. He would publicly say he's cool, but there's no way personally, deep inside him, Isaiah would ever like Michael, right? There's
Because
no
of
way.
the Dream Team stuff?
Yeah, come on. Like, there's no way you could personally ever get over that, I don't think. Maybe not. And there's also like Isaiah's from here. Like this was his fucking city. Like,
that's
that's
true,
gotta
too.
hurt so much more. He was from the West Side. Like he should have been a hero here. And he just fucking is so beloved in his own city like that. It's deep, man.
Well,
There's so many
I
layers.
hadn't even considered that part
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
That's a great
dude.
point. What did he play? St. Joe's, right?
Yeah, St.
Yeah.
Joe's High School. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hoop Dreams,
Yeah.
bro.
Do you remember in Buzz's room in Home Alone? This was like 91. He had
Yeah.
like the big thing of like the poster of Isaiah.
Yeah.
I wonder, and that was like right in the middle of when that was going on. Like the Bulls had. I wonder if he ever was. Is kind of my point. Like before Jordan became like Jordan, was Isaiah kind of like that's our hometown guy?
They talked about that before because Home Alone came out in 90, I think.
Yeah, 99.
You sure it was Isaiah Thomas in Buzz's room?
I'm almost positive.
Buzz
yeah.
was a villain, so maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why.
But well, let me ask you this: when he does the thing, when the robbers come and he
That's
makes it like-
Jordan.
it's Jordan.
That's Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if
But
you,
I think he
what
did
you
have a
get?
poster as
Life
well.
size
Yeah,
cutouts.
yeah, no, he had a big I'm looking at it right now, but there is like a Bulls sticker, but there is a big poster of Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, and it was,
I mean, just further proof that Buzz was a freaking unhinged lunatic.
Yeah,
Fact
fuck
you
yeah.
have both those guys hanging in your room? What? You got to pick one of the
Pick
other.
a side.
100%, dude. Lunatic. And
I
then,
like
like, I think,
Yeah, he does. I'm looking at the picture. So he's got a big poster of him. That's weird.
and I had the founder of NBA Jam on the show before. I think they, like, rigged it where, like, they couldn't win against,
There
Yeah,
was some
polls or
kind of
something.
code like that. Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, this shit was deep, dude.
Yeah.
MJ versus Isaiah was deep, so I'm happy to get that.
Isaiah fucked over the Knicks. Isaiah fucked over CBA. I think Larry Bird didn't like him when he took over the Pacers. Like, yeah, it's that.
Yeah,
that's-
so I think that speaks to Isaiah as a person too, and it's not just Jordan who has a lot of disdain for Isaiah. I think there's a lot of folks out there that do.
It's tough. I'd love to have him on the podcast, though, if he wants to come on. Rico, you're up.
Back to back.
Back to back.
Back to back.
All right, I'm gonna go Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon.
Fuck, that was my next pick, dude.
I mean, those two that was a hell of a rivalry. Like, they got the fans involved. He was the big bad guy.
Yeah, fuck,
I wasn't even the biggest WWF guy, but that was like the clips now, like on TikTok with the algorithm. If you watch one all the way through, now you get them all the time. Like, I don't follow any of these guys, but they all come through the fake gun, this, that. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then, I'm just gonna
Fuck,
pick what
that
I want, 'cause
sucks. I mean, that's
this will probably hurt me on the board. But if you grew up in this time, NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys
Yeah.
fan
Oh, okay.
is the pick. A girl threatened to kill my boy Carson Daly live on television, and then kill the other girl's fan in a contest. You can, like, maybe Tom can splice the clip in if he knows how to turn on the computer. But he can splice the clip in. The girl literally goes to Carson like, "I hate you and I hate her too. I'm gonna kill her." And it's like on live TV. The fucking fans hated each other. They camped outside for years. If you grew up on TRL, probably dating myself with the younger listeners, but the fans hated each other. And the music was pretty similar, and you couldn't, like, say you liked both. Now, 20 years later, everything's removed, so people, like, can go to the different concerts, but in the moment, you were one or the other.
Yeah, you're right, because it was just like this formula for boy bands back then. They all kind of bled into one another in terms of the formula, but you had to pick a side. You couldn't be Backstreet Boys. You couldn't be, both. You had to be one or the other.
Yeah,
That's a
and
good
those
pick.
were the two. Like you mentioned, like the formula, like 98 Degrees was part of that
98 Degrees,
formula. But it's like
LFO,
they're like
yeah.
that would be
Hanson.
like they were like the Michigan State of like the
Yeah.
Ohio State Michigan rivalry. Yeah, so it's a good pick.
O-Town.
I mean, which one do you think was more fierce of the ones on your board? East Side, West Side, or NSYNC and BSB?
Dude, those girls would have. I mean, they were strapped.
Yeah, oh, yeah, big time.
There was no security outside of Times Square. You were just on the street. Those girls were strapped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good pick.
That's a good pick. It was on my list.
Well, wait, real quick. Let's just go around the horn. If you had to pick, are you Backstreet Boys or are you NSYNC?
Backstreet Boys was the first concert I ever went to.
Yeah, I go in sync personally.
Yeah, but I think NSYNC was a little better. But
See,
it's close though, man.
I was definitely
Timberlake was likable.
Yeah, still is. I mean, I think I was in sync in real time, but I think if I'm out at a bar now and I got the touch tunes, or if I can sneak one into White Sox Dave's account, I think I'm going Backstreet Boys.
I actually hated the Backstreet Boys. The stupid haircuts.
They all had stupid
they all had
haircuts.
stupid haircuts.
Don't you just
They all
hate
had
people with
stupid
that stupid haircut?
Yeah.
Those stupid
Yeah.
kind of haircuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was Backstreet Boys.
Come on, Rico. What's that face for?
Putting it on it. You're putting it on a tee and telling me not to swing. I mean,
Do it.
Okay. Anyway,
took a lot of pitches today. I want that on the record.
Hey, this is good though. We can.
Backstreet Boys never had a Christmas. Backstreet Boys never had a Christmas song that bangs.
That's true.
NSYNC's
that's
Christmas
true.
song bangs.
And
That's a good
also,
point.
again, Timberlake was a huge megastar outside of everyone else. Who is in the Backstreet Boys? I don't even know anybody.
Backstreet Boys were a better team. NSYNC had better talent.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like, was Aaron Carter one of those?
Yeah, Carter.
Carter.
I don't remember
Nick
the
Carter,
others.
Nick
not
Carter.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Nick Carter.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Joey Fatone was in Rent for a short period of time.
Good for him.
Okay.
And also, like, I'm pissed you took Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon. That was my fucking next pick. That's a great one too. We just glossed over it. I just got to give it more love one more time. Two good back-to-back picks. Back to me. You mentioned it, but I'm gonna take it since Rico took mine. But I'm gonna take a Rocky versus Drago. I mean, an all-time. Everyone. It's weird because 4 is by all accounts not the best movie, but I think Drago is known as like the best villain, right?
I mean, he killed a guy.
He killed a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry to say this. I'm going to poke a hole in this one. How is it a rivalry when there was only one fight?
I had Rocky versus Apollo on my list, not Rocky versus Drago.
Because there was a rematch.
Yeah, it was a longer story arc.
Yeah.
The first 4 movies until
it's a fair
Apollo
co-
died.
Here's an unanswerable question. What if they flipped it and Drago was in 1 and 2? In terms of like, do you think it's a better story line? Because it was a huge upset with Apollo, but I guess it's hard to believe that Drago. Like, what if you introduce Drago out of the gate? You know, but I guess it's hard to believe a guy off the streets of Philly is getting this fucking guy who kills people in Russia.
Yeah.
So just the arc of Rocky, I think, is if you flipped it where you introduced Drago first, is it a better timeline?
No. And here's why. Because the original Rocky comes out in 1976, and I don't think we're at the point in the Cold War yet where disdain for Russia was across the board the way it was in the mid 80s when the Cold War was really at its height. So I think that's why it wouldn't work. But I see why you're saying that. And maybe you could say now with the newer Creed movies, the Creed series, Drago kind of resurfaced. So maybe I'll give you points for that, Ed, but I just don't think it's much of a rivalry when there's only one fight.
It's a fair con. By cons.
Yeah. Got you.
Yeah, I
don't
guess.
know why. I mean, it makes so much more sense to do Apollo for 2, Club of Lang for just the appearance there. And why weren't 4 and 5 Drago? Like you wouldn't have signed up for a rematch, Drago in 5?
I think Drago.
I would have signed up for that.
Drago probably wins a rematch though.
Probably.
So then you need a 6.
Maybe that's how it ends. Maybe that's
He comes back and kills Rocky.
no, just Rocky goes like instead of Rocky just being because he kind of ends as a guy on the streets in Philly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it is. 5 was just bad. I mean, I watched 5 once. I think 5's bad.
Tommy Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the first half of 5 started good too. They had like good intentions, and then the street fight was just brutal. But no, it's a good point. Apollo, the problem is it just made up, and I guess all rivalries could end. Point proven today, but I don't know. I guess there was a rivalry, but one fight. It was a short stint of a rivalry, I guess. Put it that way. And I mean, hey, he killed his friend, dude. That's like more reason to hate him. That's some juice to the rivalry. Like, hey, I got to go avenge the guy who killed my friend. So, Chief, you're up.
I will go the Galactic Empire versus the Rebels, Star Wars. So Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, like that to me in terms of like a rivalry that I haven't seen them all, but like I've seen the original 3 from like the late 70s, early 80s. Like that was a fucking great fictional rivalry where like you felt it and you felt like those guys, like they are fucking evil. Like the Darth Vader, he's an evil fucking guy. And I'm not like the biggest Star Wars guy, but I did love like that. Those first 3 are like iconic, great movies, and I wanted a fictional one on there, so I'm taking the Star Wars.
Not a Star Wars guy, so I can't comment.
Me
on
neither.
It.
Me either.
So I'll just
No
take
Star Wars
your
guys.
word for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
no.
Robbie, let us
I've
know.
seen
if
the
it's a
movie
good
Star
one.
Wars exactly one time, just so
one
I can
of
say
them?
I've seen it. I've seen the first Star Wars. That's it.
Wow,
No
okay.
interest in seeing any of the others. Just
Oh,
not my
all right.
cup of tea.
Fair enough. No Star Wars. Okay.
Moving along.
Moving on.
Nadu.
Cats versus mice.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the animal kingdom, are there 2 animals that hate each other more? I mean, anytime a cat sees a mouse, it's on.
I mean that could be like anything that hunts anything else, though, couldn't it?
Right. But it's a
Predator,
pronounced
prey.
one, and it's an animal that we all have experience with. We're all familiar with a cat. Dogs don't really have an enemy, do they?
Cats.
No.
Chalk this up
Fighting
to my
like
good deeds
cats and
again.
dogs.
They're not making, when they say a blank game, they're not saying gazelle lion, Chief. They're saying cat mouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cat
Look
and
at-
mouse. Yeah,
I mean,
but it's like
for instance, as well.
they're fighting like cats and dogs is the expression.
But cats and dogs don't really hate each other. It's really just a TV type of thing. And also throw out Tom and Jerry. That's a very popular work of, entertainment since the 40s.
I just watched a new episode of that today, Tom and Jerry. So.
The way you said that was masterful. Also throughout Tom and Jerry. It's a very popular work of entertainment.
I mean, it is, bro. It's just the 40s.
It is. It had staying power for sure.
Be real though. Okay, it's the 2 animals that just never. I mean, they're always gonna fight. They don't like each other.
I don't know if a mouse has ever fought a cat though. They just run away.
I mean, you're fighting for survival.
Right.
So I mean that's like anything versus nature then.
You're fighting for survival.
All right.
And also, I lump. Let's just be real. I lump a rat into the mice group.
Okay.
So rats could fight off cats.
Yeah, I
see if
suppose it
cats
was
versus
big
rodents.
enough. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we're lumping all the rodents, cats versus rodents now, but you want mice on the graphic. You want Tom and Jerry on the graphic?
Well, I think I should have said rodents. My apologies. We'll just do rodents in general.
Do you know that cats, on the same note, and we talked about this on our show last week too, they kill like 3 billion birds a year, house cats do?
No shit.
Did not.
Yeah,
Did
it's a
not
lot
know
of
that.
fucking birds. So maybe, I don't know, is that, do they kill more birds or mice?
Do you like to pick
What do you
Rico?
hear if you catch a cat?
What?
Let meow.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good one.
All right, Cons.
All right. This is a little existential, but I think this is the rivalry that spans time, and it goes back to the beginning of time. Good versus evil. Everything can be boiled down in a lot of ways to good versus evil. God versus the devil, heaven versus hell.
Very cold versus hot type of thing.
Very cold versus hot. Yeah. I just think you can classify a lot of things as good versus evil. It's the ultimate rivalry, some would say, because it can just be the overarching rivalry. I mean, even when you take the sports landscape, that some teams has been classified as the evil empire, or a team that does nefarious things to get advantages. So it's just always good versus evil. So that is my pick.
Yeah, and that's like it's an internal struggle too. The line between good and evil runs right down a person's heart. You have to choose every day.
Yeah.
Some people have a harder
Yeah.
time with that than others.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty basic, but it makes sense. Makes sense.
Great value in the 4th round.
Great value. In the
Yeah, I'm actually
thought it was
once
fifth
Nadu started talking about hot versus cold, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if good versus evil is going to come all the way back to me. But yeah, I feel good about good versus evil.
It's not what I thought you were going to say when you started that little soliloquy there, but it's a good pick.
All right.
5th round.
Thank you. And then for my final pick, I could go a lot of different ways here. I have a lot of picks here. I have some picks that I actually don't now, after having that conversation prior to starting, I don't feel comfortable saying. Maybe I'll say those after. But another one I think topical. Taylor Swift versus the haters. I think Taylor Swift is very polarizing. I think she's an incredible talent, but there are a lot of people, be it Kanye West, people who don't see her appeal, that hate on her, people who hate people who love Taylor Swift. So I just think it's very prominent in our society right now. And
Is it? Do people still hate? This to me is like that line from Die Hard where it's like, for Caesar wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. I feel like Taylor's just killed all of her enemies. Like she has none left, and she's got the biggest.
But I think people still hate
army.
when she comes out with an album and people are like, all right, we get it, we're over it. We don't even want to hear, all about Taylor Swift. I think there's still people who hate the Taylor Swift fans. So
hey, can I ask you a question just between you and me and everybody else?
Yeah,
Plug
yeah,
your
go ahead.
ears. You're just doing this for the graphic. Is that true?
no, I would never. I would never placate to the audience.
I think you might be placating to the audience.
No,
You just
not
want to
me.
find a way to get
Not
Taylor
me.
Swift on the graphic. Is that true?
Just like you did last time.
No, it's not true.
Taylor
It's
Swift
not
versus
true.
the haters. Rico, thoughts on the pick?
It's a good pick. It makes sense. There's definitely, she's polarizing. I think it's like, to Chief's point, she has kind of, at this point, it's after a while, it's like, what can you do? Like it's like me versus Drake. I fucking hate Drake, but for whatever, like at a certain point, once he gets that famous, I can't fucking say anything anymore.
Well, I will be on the record. I hate Taylor Swift.
Okay.
See?
All right.
Why?
If he can say he hates Drake, I feel like I'm okay to say.
I don't like Drake either.
I actually love Drake, so
I don't like
I hate
Drake.
Taylor Swift.
Why do you hate Taylor Swift, Jeff?
I was just corny.
Doesn't like
and
the
vain.
look of her.
I hate her. Yeah,
Yeah.
she sucks.
Why do you hate Drake? Cons and Rico.
Yeah, what do you hate Drake?
I don't like him.
I
either.
get-
I think he followed the Ja Rule form. He used girls in his song, catchy songs early, got famous. Also, my friends went to see him in Philly, and because it wasn't sold out, he knew he couldn't sell it out. He like made up a light issue to extend the thing. His insufferability on those stages with wearing the different teams. It's not for me.
That does drive me crazy.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
He was hitting on. He's out of his mind. I'm no
He hit
thanks.
on Doris Burke. That was wild.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think he's particularly talented. I think he's got a lot of people behind him that boost him up. I don't
Degrassi
find
was
him.
good though.
Yeah,
I
okay,
never
that's
saw-
fair.
yeah.
That's fair. Never watched it, but yeah, that's fair.
Shout out, Jimmy.
And yeah, to what Rico just said, like I don't like how he just bounces around because he just seemingly wants to be friends with everyone. And I'm not saying being friends with people is wrong, but like when you're rooting for 86 different teams just so you can kind of like buddy up against the superstar, that's obnoxious to
It
me.
does have to be said. He is pretty cringy as a
Yeah.
yeah. Music wise, he's great though.
So
All right, Nadu.
And he went to Kentucky's Midnight Madness. So
right.
What?
Nadu, you're up.
The Kennedys versus the Mafia.
Chief will
Yeah.
like this one.
I mean, there's a lot of historical basis in both sides. Robert Kennedy hated the Mafia. Even after they got his brother elected, the Mafia then began to hate the Kennedys. And it also led to really, with what I believe, an assassination. The biggest
Yeah.
ever. So
All right. So one of the ones I had on my list, and I wasn't sure if I could say it, but I guess we can kind of say it. I had Kennedys versus Assassins.
I mean,
0 for 2.
Tough record. Tough record against them.
Yeah.
Oh, for 2.
I mean, it's just, and he, whether or not with JFK, I mean, he is a very polarizing person. So,
yeah, I just don't think the mafia killed him.
I do, and
I think
I
they
guess
might have
that's
been
questionable.
involved, but
There has to be connections there.
yeah,
at least.
they couldn't change the parade route. Nadu, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, but again, I think it was a multi-tiered system. As
Yeah.
we've talked about, I think the CIA used the mafia as plausible deniability. They got them involved, and they all kind of worked hand in hand.
A
But
lot of mutual interest
plus,
there.
throw in the Hoffa stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of connection there.
Yep,
You love that pick.
I do. I think it's a
That's a good pick.
yeah.
Chief loves the Kennedys.
I do love I love the Kennedys.
There is no one that loves them more than you. Maybe Dave Portnoy. I mean, the Kennedys are scumbags, though. We have to continue to say.
Big time scumbags. But
Complete
they're
scumbags.
fascinating, and I've told this story 100 times, but it was like that's like my family has been obsessed with them forever because
Yeah.
my great grandpa was like the plumber for Honey Fitz in like South Boston like 100 years ago. So it's been a generational like obsession. Like my nana would just sit up and talk about them. All right, so it's to me, huh?
Yeah, you're up.
I think I'm just going to go back to sports. And it was Rico actually tipped this one earlier. But when I was a kid, this was my favorite one. So this is where I probably chiefed myself. But that Red Wings Avalanche from 96 to probably 2002. That was the most heated rivalry I think I've ever seen in sports, where you had multiple line brawls across multiple games. And like, so it would be like, we have like 6 guys left to finish this game because everybody's been kicked out. Talking about blood feuds. There's the Dino Cicerelli clip after, they lost the first series against the Avalanche, goes through, they do the handshake line at the end of a playoff series. And Cicerelli, talking to the media, was like absolutely disgusted with himself. He goes, I can't believe I shook his fucking hand. And he was so like enraged that like he like did like the bigger man thing and was like, fuck him. I wish I didn't do that. And they made the great documentary about it. It was the fiercest, best. Every once in a while, I'll just pull it up on YouTube because I just like watching people bleed, I guess. But it was
I
an
didn't know
awesome,
too much about it. I
awesome
watched
rivalry.
that documentary because of you. And then the ending is sad. You won't give that away. But it's like, that was crazy. And then didn't they decide who was going to the Cup like 5 out of 7 years or something?
Something like, yeah. So I think in that span, the Wings won 3 and Colorado won 2. And they were always the 2 best teams, and they were like kind of like the same thing. Like they had Scotty Bowman and Mark Crawford, the coaches, who were like assholes, and like they had to be separated before. And they both had everything. Like that was kind of old time hockey where they had like the super skill guys, and then they had a lot of tough guys. So it was just the Avalanche won it the first time, so the Red Wings went out and were like, you know what, we got to make this a little bit of an arms race. We got to go get tougher. So they went out and got bigger, meaner guys. They got Brendan Shanahan. He had the classic goalie fights. It was the hottest a rivalry has ever burned in sports. I think it was this. So Wings and Avalanche.
A lot of passion behind that. Can't argue with that passion behind that.
Yeah, but this is one where I feel like I might lose the draft.
We'll see.
I just don't think NHL rivalries kind of like transcend. Like if
that.
you told me name the top 3 rivalries in the NHL right now, I don't know that I could do that.
I also
I
would.
don't think casual NHL fans know those.
But do you
I'm
know
not
about?
I'm not a big hockey guy either, but I would have to think like some of the Canadian rivalries probably have to tip that as well. No,
I would say, but I don't know if they burned hotter. Like the classic one is Boston Montreal, and that one is like the most similar to like a Red Sox Yankees for hockey. It's gone on the longest.
Edmonton Calgary isn't a good one.
That's the Battle of Alberta is a great one too, but it didn't, and like they hate each other and the fans hate each other. It was not as, you didn't get like the line brawls. This went on for like 7 years, where Patrick Waugh, he got into fights with 3 different goalies for the Red Wings. It was like, hey, we're fighting, and I'm still the goalie here. They've kind of cycled guys through. So he fought Dominic Hasek, he fought Mike Vernon, and he fought Chris Osgood. And so to have a goalie fight is rare. To fight the goalie on the other team, and it's 3 different goalies. It's like that. Like you see those sweaters, and you're just like, hey, let's fucking go. And
I think
it mattered.
To the point of like, Go ahead, Chief. Sorry.
No, and it mattered Because and it wasn't like a lot of times with Boston, Montreal. The reason I said that was kind of like Yankees, Red Sox is because Montreal just was beating the shit out of the Bruins for a long, long time. And this one was just like, you knew that was whenever they played that was going to be the Stanley Cup final. Like they might play in the second round, they might play in the conference final. Whenever those two teams line up, if they survive, they're going to win the cup. And that to me like adds a little layer to it as well.
I think those Canada teams may have gone on forever, but to Chief's point, like that period, a rivalry, I guess it's a bad thing to say, but I guess a rivalry can end. So like that 7-year period is what he's picking, and nothing was heated. I'll tip the pick. Eddie, how many picks are left?
I have one and you have one. There's 2 picks
All
left.
right, so I don't think you're taking this, but like the Knicks Heat for those 4 or 5 years was fucking crazy. The Knicks Pacers was like a 4-year deal. That was fucking nuts. So
Knicks
like
Bulls even in the early
Celtics
90s.
Lakers.
now the Knicks needed to win one to actually be that a rivalry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get your point. Like they just fucking dominated us. But the Knicks Heat, it was a rivalry because both of them were so similar. They were trying to get to that. Same with the Pacers. Like when it comes down to it, you're basically just fighting for the silver medal because the Bulls are going to win anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what made it even better. It's like we just want to be a silver medalist. So like even Duke, like I think Duke Maryland over those 3 years is like they made a documentary on that. Like that's an unbelievable rivalry. So to say things have to be forever, I don't like. You don't necessarily have that. You can have a piece of time that's
that they burn so hot that it's that it's seared into your memory. Where like I remember that, like all those ones you're talking about, I remember, and they kind of happen at a similar time. But this one where it's just like the look on Cicerelli's face when I can't believe I shook his fucking hand, like he wanted to puke. All because he shook his rival's hand. And like that, I don't think the other ones that you listed off got to that level of animosity unless it was Isaiah and Jordan.
Well, Knicks Heat was fucking bench clearing brawls.
Yeah.
Knicks Pacers, they're headbutting each other. So yeah, I agree with that's proving your point. Like I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, my pick. I got one left on my board. I'm still mad about Austin McMahon. I'm going fictional. I'm taking Billy Madison versus the O'Doyle family.
Oh.
That's a great one.
I mean, those fucking ginger fucks.
I just watched that last week. That's a great one.
Yeah, the O'Doyles. It didn't matter what grade he was in, dude. Those fuckers.
They were there at every turn. We were waiting for him.
They
Madison.
Got a feeling you're going down the O'Doyle.
Another whole family.
Yeah. For now, I got to study.
That said, there's some other good rivalries. Eric versus Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But that was the most fun to me because it was just so subtle, and that's what I love about those, like the subtleness of those, like the sloppy Joe lady, like those, like Eric was great, like he was funny, but this like just them thinking of a new O'Doyle, but like we just need a redhead. Whoever that writer was, we just need a redhead, and everything he's just a dick.
That's why the McPoyles crack me up on Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Anytime those fucking mongoloids come in, you're like, oh god, this is fucking.
They're difficult to look at.
I will say real quick, we don't talk enough about the rivalries in his movies. And there's a lot of great rivalries in his movies.
Yeah.
Shooter and Happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in like Uncut Gems and like some of the other films, like
Wedding Singer. Him
Yeah,
versus
right.
Glenn.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did an
Glad
Adam
Galuli.
Sandler draft. It was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Billy Madison versus the O'Doyles. It's my pick.
Has he ever come out and said why all his names are like they rhyme? What was his name in Uncut Gems? Maybe he broke the streak then.
Howard Ratner.
All right, so Howard broke the streak, but Happy, Billy, there's a movie called Going Overboard that I bought on DVD because it was him in it when I was a young kid. He's Shecky in that. What are some other ones?
I never thought of that.
What was he in?
Has anyone
Sonny-
seen
Sonny-
Hubie
Sonny
Halloween?
and Big Daddy.
Yes,
What'd you
Sonny
say?
and Big Daddy. What's the one in with the maid where he takes over the money?
We also
Mr.
remember
Deeds.
Bobby.
Deeds.
Bobby Boucher.
Longfellow
Yeah,
Deeds.
Boucher.
What'd you say, Tom?
Bobby. I mean, they're all. It's crazy. I don't know why you ever.
I never thought of that. That's a good point.
I've done it after watching 3 of his movies. I was like, they all rhyme. It's always the same name.
Nikki, yeah.
What's he in The Wedding Singer?
He's Bobby Hart. Robbie Hart.
Robbie, yeah.
Hart.
Yeah.
In Hubie Halloween, it's one of his most recent ones. He brings back references, and there's like the
Who asked you?
there's O'Doyle's in that.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. He brings back the O'Doyles in that movie.
Julia Gulia.
Yeah, Julia.
That's an astute observation.
I might check out Hubie Halloween if he brings that back.
And Ben Stiller's character from Happy Gilmore's in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Robbie Hart.
By the way, can I ask Rico one thing quick?
Well,
What did you think of that basketball film he did recently?
Terrible.
Really, I liked it.
I actually liked it also. I thought it was
liked
alright.
it.
It wasn't one of his greatest works, but
No, but I just thought it was good.
It looked like a way to get in a million different cameos.
good point. Uncut Gems, though, is an incredible movie. Fuck all you people that don't like it.
It's a good movie.
No, Uncut Gems was good.
All right, Rico, Mr. Irrelevant. Who we got? Last pick
Yeah, I
of the
mean,
draft.
there's a few on here. I think I'm just Chief alluded to this, whether he realizes it or not, of burning hot. We go with Irish people versus the sun. Now, Irish people have had a bunch of different tricks. They got sunscreen, they got layers, they got umbrellas, and the sun might take a few days off, but the sun goes and gets them, whether they want it or not.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
It's been a
The
losing
sun
battle.
leaves marks. The sun does not leave like a little incision. The sun leaves fucking stab marks on you. You know right away. Oh, you got beat. So I'm gonna go Irish people versus the sun.
Rico might have just won with that pick at
I think he
Mr.
did.
Irrelevant. That is an unbelievable pick. As someone who battles the sun almost daily, that's a great pick.
I've given up on that fight. I don't really like sunscreen. I'm just like, you know what? I can't beat the sun. The sun wins. So, yeah, it's tough. That's a great pick. It's a great pick. It's another one that how many years of evolution of Irish people we haven't been able to figure out that trick where we can't
It's
get
just
it.
unbeatable. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great pick, Rico.
great pick.
I'll do what I left on the board, and then everybody will do whatever's left.
Well,
Or, Eddie, you want to read them off?
I'll read them off. We'll do that, and then
Yeah.
we also, like I said, it's a new leaderboard. We also have a new wrinkle at the end of the show that I want to introduce as well. So stay tuned.
Love wrinkles.
New wrinkle. Okay, so here we go. Cons: Army versus Navy, Yankees versus Red Sox, Barstool versus the NFL, Good versus Evil, Taylor Swift versus Haters, Nadu, Duke versus Carolina, Hot versus Cold, Eagles versus Cowboys, Cat versus Mice, Kennedy's versus the Mafia, Chief, Ohio State versus Michigan, USA versus Russia, Bears versus Packers, Galactic Empire versus Rebels, Red Wings versus Avalanche, Eddie, Democrats versus Republicans, Pepsi versus Coke, Michael Jordan versus Isaiah Thomas, Rocky versus Drago, Billy Madison versus the O'Doyles, Rico, Bloods versus Crips, Biggie versus Tupac, Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon, NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys fans, Irish people versus the Sun. All right, Rico, you could lead us off for an honorable mentions.
I had Lauren Conrad versus Heidi Montag. I had
had
Word
that.
Magic. I had Knicks Heat. I had Sting Hogan. I had New York versus New Jersey in The Sopranos. And I also had Italians versus the water. They fucking hate the water.
Cons?
A little more Barstool centric. I had White Sox Dave versus Gum.
Yep.
I had Big
Why
Cat
didn't you
versus-
do this one? I thought you were going to do White Sox Day versus Class, the way you were talking pre-draft.
Yeah, that would have worked. White Sox Dave versus doing anything with class. That would have been good. I figured I only wanted to do one Barstool one. I thought the NFL one was the most prominent.
Easy.
I also had Big Cat versus his weight. A little more to our age. I also had LC versus Chris and Cavallari. Rico, I'm surprised you didn't take Bayside versus Valley.
That's a good one.
Very, very niche to where we are. DJs versus Parker House in terms of, are you a DJs person or a Parker House person? And then I had Allied Powers versus the Axis Powers, but I thought that was too close to Good versus Evil. So, and I had Brittany versus Christina.
I had that too.
Nadu, any honorable mentions?
Oh, sorry, last one. Mike Francesa versus Mad Dog Russo.
Oh, good one.
Good.
Yeah, I had a couple.
I don't know if that ever got to rivalry.
I think Carton's
But
bigger.
we found out later it was brewing underneath. They were very professional at all times, but there was something going on. And they've since, I think Francesa's going on Russo's show coming up here. But
Yeah.
I think there was a little rivalry there at the tail end.
Carton Francesa's bigger now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I keep finding one. Sorry. This is the very last one. My father versus customer service. Listening to him tangle with customer service is always a popcorn, get your popcorn type event.
Yeah, I almost got asked to leave the Apple store the other day, so I feel that.
Nadu?
Yeah, I had, kind of some sports ones. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Celtic versus Rangers, Joe Frazier versus Ali, Russia versus Ukraine, Howard Stern versus Imus.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And then the one that I was close on, Omar Little against drug dealers.
I like that too.
Drug dealers. He hated drug dealers.
He did.
Yeah.
Chief?
Alabama, Auburn. Did anybody say that? I mean,
Nope.
that's the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
I had Alex versus Sophia. I feel like that turned into a pretty good, if it wanted to be Barstool centric.
Good one.
Batman, Joker, McDonald's versus Burger King.
Yeah.
I had that.
And then if I wanted to go like super chief and just like sink my draft, I had the Montagues and Capulets. It's like obviously
I had that one too.
Yeah. Jefferson versus Adams, which if you like Jefferson in the press called him a hermaphrodite, which is, you can't even get away with that today. That was 250 years ago or whatever. So he called him a hermaphrodite. That was tough. And then I actually had, Hatfields, McCoys, and then Mike versus Mike. Similar, like the old Greeny and Golick show. They fucking hate each other too. So
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, now here we go. The wrinkle. In this new era, the council is dead.
ooh.
Wow.
The council is dead. We will find out who is on the poll, tomorrow's poll, right here, right now.
Okay. I like this.
We will be doing
How do we find out?
we will be doing a kill card. The council is on the panel right now. We will all be voting who we think had the worst draft. So, let's start with the do. Rivalries may be reignited.
We made it an hour and a half, and now we're starting over.
So, Eddie, the only wrinkle I'll give in this
What?
is that based on the order you go, somebody can have a more meaningful decision
I
at
think-
the end. So why
Yeah.
don't you just we all just hold up a piece of paper?
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
I'm aware of that, and things may change at some point.
For this episode and this episode only.
Things may change at some point, but I think we're gonna stick with this way for today. Jeff, who had the
And he
worst
thinks
draft?
he's a fucking writer on Survivor. Like, wait till I see this.
Jeff, who had the worst draft?
He's a fucking game show host. We'll open that case after this. You were the first one ever to take a commercial break. All right, Eddie.
Jeff, who had the worst
Who would
draft?
have thought I behaved for an hour and a half, and now the guy I want to go after here is Eddie.
I'm gonna go. To me, the worst draft was Chief. I just don't think Green Bay and the Bears is that important. I don't think the hockey one is that relevant. I think he started out really well with Ohio State, Michigan, but yeah, those couple of picks were bad. I mean, Cons was bad too, but
Okay.
that first pick was horrific. I'm surprised, Cons, you didn't mention like the Merchant Marines against the Coast Guard or something. I mean,
Okay, that will be one vote for Chief to be left off.
I'm gonna challenge.
To be left off the poll. Cons, the vote will next go to you.
I mean, Chief, I'm sorry, dude. You were going through that whole diatribe about the NHL rivalry. I stopped listening about 10 seconds in. I just
my
didn't
God.
care at all.
All right.
I gotta admit,
I'm
I
sorry.
did too.
I just thought of something really good, but I hope it would be colluding, so I can't say it. But I hope what's going through other people's minds here can figure out how we can poke a hole in Eddie's stupid fucking system.
What's that?
I know not everybody is college educated, but you are going now, so let's figure this out.
This
See
is
if we can figure
bullshit
this out.
so far.
All
This
right.
is so
All
far.
right.
This is we got fucking cats versus mice and hot versus cold. Hot
even
versus cold. I've never fought
Again.
before. Can I
Who
go?
the fuck-
I'm voting for fucking Jeff. I'm voting for Jeff. This was one of the worst draft performances I've ever
All
seen.
right, all right.
How?
So
Hot
Cons,
versus
that
cold
helps
is the
the
most.
system. See if you can figure it out.
Chief, I was going to go to you next.
Sounds like you're just fucking salty.
All right.
I am salty, but your draft was also objectively
All
terrible.
right, so-
Dude, Carolina has lost its luster. Hot versus cold have never fought against each other. Eagles Cowboys is super regional. Cats have never fought with
No one
mouse.
cares
It's
about
just
the
like
Bears,
it's just
dude.
hunting.
You
It's
said
just fucking
yourself you
eating.
watch Eagles
Kennedy's versus
Cowboys.
the mafia. Oh, we're talking about a fucking Supreme Court Congress case from 1958 with
but I also
RFK,
listen-
and then
but
it
if
was
you
the
listen-
CIA that killed Kennedy.
If
So you don't even have your
listen-
facts right.
but if
Jeff
you-
Nadu, the
but-
worst
but
draft of
if
maybe
you
of all
listen-
time.
But if you listen,
Bang up
there were-
idea, Ed.
But if you listen, there were other things that I mentioned where both sides hated both. So it's a big time rivalry. You gave us rivalries. I didn't even know fucking Colorado had a fucking hockey team. Who gives a fuck?
Now, as a commissioner,
ignorance is not my problem.
As a commissioner, I will go next. I will go next. Right now, as the vote stands, it is 2 votes for Chief, 1 vote for Jeff Nadu.
Where was the second vote for Chief?
Cons.
Cons.
Oh, you
Cons.
fucked it up.
Yeah.
I realized what you were saying after I had voted, though.
Yeah, so 2 votes for Chief to be left off the poll, 1 vote for Jeff Nadu. You know what, man? I hate to do it. I was happy to have him on his first draft, but Nadu, I'm gonna have to go with you, and I think that leaves it in Rico's hands.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this.
And I must say too, as a commissioner, myself and Cons are now excluded from this vote.
Okay, then I vote for myself.
And you're
Stupid
excluded.
system's fucked.
No, you got to vote for Chief or Nadu.
Why?
No,
he doesn't have to do anything.
Absolutely incorrect.
He doesn't have to.
Yes, as under the new guidelines, you have
And
to.
it sounds
go.
like you're making up these guidelines as you go.
I wrote the listen. I've been right. Listen, I stayed up all night writing these bylines. All right,
Really? That makes me worried. If you took all night to come up with this idea.
all night. All right, we got the kill box right now. So Rico, who's it gonna be? Chief.
Just said it. Vote for myself.
It's got to be Chief or Nadu. Who's being left off the
Read
poll?
me the boards again.
Okay, here we go.
I'll literally do it.
This
live.
isn't close. It's amazing.
I'm gonna do it unbiased. Read each round one. Give me
All right,
round one.
Round 1, Nadu, Duke versus North Carolina, Ohio State versus Michigan.
It's a wash.
Round
It's
2.
not a wash.
Round 2.
It is a one.
Hot versus cold versus USA versus Russia. Who wins that one?
Go to the next one.
Okay. Round 3. Eagles versus Cowboys versus Bears versus Packers.
It's a wash.
That's not a wash, Rico. Come on.
You're not helping your case here. It's a wash.
That ain't a wash. Who gives a fuck about the Bears?
Dude, you just be quiet.
They founded the NFL. They've been doing that route
I'm
for
not saying that,
120 years.
I'm not saying.
All right. Round 4. Cats versus Mice. Galactic Empire versus Rebels.
Okay. And what's the last one?
Round 5. Kennedy's versus the Mafia. Red Wings versus the Avalanche.
I think collectively they both stink. You should just leave them both off and only have 3.
Fuck you, Taylor Swift and the Army Navy is your first pick.
The haters. Taylor versus haters. People just
Taylor
don't
versus
happen to
haters.
like her music. What a rivalry.
Yeah. So I mean that could be a bad draft. I should have picked you.
You should have.
Yeah, you could have.
Rico Bosco. Do you have a
Steve, how
decision?
long we go back?
Pretty long. Well, I mean, if talking about listening to your content, we're talking 3 presidencies.
Yeah, I know.
This,
Brownie points of brownie points. Give me hot versus cold.
this is fucking crazy.
And on that,
That
note,
is fucking insane. This I might just win.
Thank you.
I'm gonna win. I would win the poll. This would win the poll. This would win the poll.
Suck it, Chief.
Unbelievable.
Your system fucking sucks.
What a
Number
system.
1, your system sucks.
I actually love the system.
What
Shout
a
out to the
system.
system.
Did Red
La
Hat do it or
Sistemia.
did Red Hat do it? Thank
Your
you.
system fucking stinks. Cat
Hey,
versus Mike.
before
What
we
are we
go, can I
talking
ask a
about?
question to you two?
Yeah, you can ask a question. He threw his headphones. I could relay it, though.
Now I'm talking about just people at Barstool. People versus people.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest rivalry in the history?
Nate Smitty's up there.
Okay. But true hate. At least till
Yeah.
recent.
Nate Smitty, I think.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, but I'm not. It's hard knowing. Like I'm not being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're there, you see who's like really in whose head. You know what I mean? Like who's staring daggers through who's always talking about who.
Because I never knew if it was like Rico and I for a while. Was that the big?
I mean, that was big for sure. That was big for sure. For sure.
Chief broke his headphones, so he can't hear anything.
I can hear you now. I picked them up.
Well, I mean,
But yeah, I could hear your fucking gabagool voice from all the way across the room. But
Hurts to stink, right? Doesn't it, Chief?
your draft was. I want to challenge him to a runoff.
What
I
a
want to
day.
challenge Jeff to a runoff.
hey,
Yeah, I think it is Nate Smitty.
what do you think of the kill box, Tom?
No, you're a sick fuck, Eddie. I can't believe you just did that.
That was for
Love
the people.
Eddie.
Yeah.
The drafts are back, baby.
It's
a new era.
Eddie.
It's a new era. The drafts are back.
I feel like
It's gonna be fun.
where's Eddie's Pepsi versus Coke? That's fucking lame too.
No,
Real
my
quick, this
my
is so
draft-
funny
Eddie's a
about
sicko.
Chief. Okay, he literally during when I said Eagles Cowboys said it was must watch every time, and he actually said who actually watches outside Chicago Packers Bears. He said that.
I said me personally, but I think there are a lot of people around the country who get fired up for Bears Packers.
There's no one in the.
I
contiguous
mean, you
United
guys are
States.
just sheltered. You guys are the type of people that think the whole country drops off
All right,
after
we
the
can do
Hudson.
this. We
There's
can do
no
this
one
all
in the.
night.
There's no one in the
I gotta
50
go.
states.
We could do this.
There's no
You're
one in the
right.
50 states
Exactly.
that would say Eagles Cowboys isn't bigger than Bears Packers.
Exactly. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Cons,
guys.
Thank you.
Jeff, thank you. Thank you to Rico as well. Thank you to Chief, who's off the poll. Unfortunate for him.
fucking asshole.
Thank you to
You're a
Redhead for
fucking
this new
asshole.
system that may or may not be alterated after today. We just had to try it out for this draft.
Yeah, great
for no
fucking-
reason in
great job.
particular.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching in particular as well. Subscribe to the YouTube. We'll see you all
Awesome as
tomorrow.
always, Eddie.